Trade space for time. Strategy 11. The non-engagement strategy. Retreat in the face of a strong enemy is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. By resisting the temptation to respond to an aggressor, you buy yourself valuable time to turn inward, time to recover, time to think, to gain perspective. Let others, or rather let your enemies, advance. Time is more important than space. By refusing to fight, you infuriate them and feed their arrogance. They will soon overextend themselves and start making mistakes. Time will reveal them as rash and you as wise. Sometimes you can accomplish most by doing nothing. Space I can recover, time never. Napoleon Bonaparte. War is deceptive. You may think that you are strong and that you are making advances against an enemy, but time may show that you were actually marching into grave danger. You can never really know, since our immediate immersion in the present deprives us of true perspective. The more you can do, and the best way to deal with this, is to rid yourself of lazy, conventional patterns of thinking. Advancing is not always good. Retreating is not always weak. In fact, in moments of danger or trouble, refusing to fight is often the best strategy in the long run. By disengaging from the enemy, you lose nothing that is valuable in the long run, and you gain time to turn inward, rethink your ideas, separate the true believers from the hangers-on. Time becomes your ally. By doing nothing outwardly, you gain inner strength, which will translate into tremendous power later, when it is time to act. Keys to warfare. The problem we all face in strategy and in life is that each of us is unique, and each of us has a unique personality. Our circumstances are also unique, in that no situation ever really repeats itself. But most often we are barely aware of this, and barely aware of what makes us different. In other words, who we really are. Our ideas come from books, teachers, all kinds of unseen influences. We respond to events routinely and mechanically, instead of trying to understand the differences. In our dealings with other people, too, we are easily infected by their tempo and mood. All this creates is a kind of fog. We fail to see events for what they truly are, and we do not know ourselves. Your task as strategist is simple: to see the differences between yourself and other people, to understand yourself, your side, and the enemy as best as you can, to get more perspective on events, to know things for what they are and not for what they should be. In the hubdub of daily life, this is not easy. In fact, the power to do it can only come from knowing when and how to retreat. If you are always advancing, always attacking, always responding to people emotionally, you have no time to gain perspective. Your strategies will be weak and mechanical, based on things that happened in the past or to someone else. Like a monkey, you will imitate instead of create. Retreating is something you must do every now and again to find yourself and to detach yourself from infecting influences. And the best way to do this is in moments of danger. Symbolically, the retreat is mythological. Many great leaders have retreated to find themselves, to detach themselves, to come back, to gain power over their enemies. When you retreat, time stands still. But for the enemy, time continues to cause him frustration and anxiety about not making any serious contact with you. He becomes embroiled with all the emotions of the friction of time, empty time and space, and the difference between what he expects and the actual plan. As well as what actually happens. The friction of time can be so distressing and terrifying. The essence of retreat is a refusal to fight the enemy in any way, whether psychologically or physically. You may do so defensively to protect yourself, but it can also be a positive strategy. By refusing to fight aggressive enemies, you can effectively infuriate and unbalance them. Image, the desert sands. In the desert there is nothing upon which to feed and nothing upon which to use for war, just sand and empty space. Retreat to the desert occasionally to think and see with clarity. Time moves so slowly there, which is what you need. When under attack, fall back into the desert, luring your enemies into a place where they lose all sense of time and space and fall under your control. Authority, to remain disciplined and calm while waiting for the enemy, or waiting rather for disorder to appear amongst the enemy, is the art of self-possession. Sun Tzu, 4th century. Reversal. When enemies attack you in an overwhelming force, instead of retreating, you may sometimes decide to engage them directly. You are inviting martyrdom, perhaps even hoping for it, or martyrdom too, is actually a strategy. But it is very unlikely that you will see the effect, because you won't be here. So it is not a wise strategy. Tale of the hunted man. It's 2012. A man has been fitted up as the goat's head by an undesirable street cartel for their street activity errors. They look for somebody to blame for the future, to hold as a hostage in an envelopment noose effect of encirclement against him, but more so against the sirens whom they know are pursuing them already. The sirens already well informed about everything that's going on in the street. They are watching attentively before this hunted man has even arrived on the scene. Panic sets in, so they find the stool pigeon, the Aunt Sally, the patsy, the whipping boy for the future, for their future anxiety, for the street error mistakes they've made. This street error mistakes by a group of cutthroat brothers do not want to take the blame from reprisals from opponents, namely the Caribbean cartel. So they find a spokesman, an informant, to hold hostage in this envelopment when the time comes, hoping that the sirens will back off them so that they can get back to growing their crop, or rather distributing their crop upon the street, thinking if we sacrifice this goat's head or hold him in this envelopment noose effect, the crop will grow back. But the sirens don't back off. And the others, the street people, they now pursue this hunted man. It now turns into a deviant community of darkness. That community of darkness, Hades, of the underworld. They hunt this man day and night. Now the sirens get in on the act, use him as the honeypot to do the dirty work. They know that he's going to be hunted by every criminal, every underworld man. But they didn't think for every worldly man, including every person on the world. They did not account for. They thought just the criminal world. But they did not understand that everybody on the planet is a criminal. Now, it is the whole world v. one group of saintly men that are rising up. The gods, the saints, the gods of good. This is good for evil. One man has now become half God, as he uses strategy after strategy to stay alive. He calls upon the gods. He studies the gods. He trades space for time now, to detach from infecting influences, to find himself, to know for what he stands and whom he is, his identity, his true identity and his true narrow path to life. He detaches from all worldly people. But he does not detach from the saints, the good of mankind. But he does not see them. But they are there. They are standing alongside him against these machines of menace. He trades space for time, or as the underworld commoner may say, lying low, let empty time, space pass, futile time, dangerous time, let it pass, let others get mixed up and embroiled in the friction of the moment between what they plan and what actually happens. Turmoil, chaos on the streets. They all become embroiled. They destroy themselves. This one man trades space. He trades space for time. Time he knows he can recapture. Well, space he knows he can recapture, but time never. Once time is gone, you've lost altogether. He trades space.